Today, I'm going to tell you a short story from my own life that will be encouraging for anyone who is scared to let go of something in their life that part of them knows they've outgrown, and yet the other part of them is terrified to step away from and, take a leap into the unknown. So, a few years ago, I had a previous business in the world of wellness and nutrition, and I was so committed to give it my absolute all. I actually spent about 10 years being dedicated, disciplined, pouring everything I could into that business. But for one reason or another, and I think it was actually down to some deep subconscious rooted beliefs, I could not get that business to take off. I poured thousands of hours, thousands of pounds into that business. And this isn't in any way to throw shade on that kind of business model, because there are people who are highly successful in that business model. And I'm not, blaming the business. I'm taking full accountability. Anyway, after 10 years, I had this voice in the back of my head that was just saying, Lucie, stop. This isn't the right thing for you. It's time to move on. You're tired. You don't enjoy it anymore. It's time to do something else. But I had trained my never give up mindset to never give up, that I wasn't even listening to that intuition. In fact, I thought that intuition was me being lazy. I thought it was the voice in my head saying, just quit, just give up, and I'd been very careful for so many years to not let the give up voice win. But there was something different about this voice. This wasn't the lazy voice in me. This was the intuition part of me, the voice in my heart that was saying, we don't have to do this anymore. You've given this your best. Although you're not the kind of person who wants to give up, you don't want this anymore. This isn't for you anymore. So I battled against this voice for months and was overthinking it. It caused my brain to think of all the worst case scenarios. If I quit, will I be letting people down? Will people be upset with me or angry with me? What will I even do next? What if I continue to take these subconscious blocks with me into everything that I do moving forward? So is there any point me trying something else, because that will just fail as well, etc., etc. But I think, well, for me, in my case, I left it until that voice was literally screaming in my head. And you don't have to leave it that long. Maybe this video is your sign, your invitation to listen to that voice before it starts screaming. I think also around this time, I injured my back, my lower back, which I connect to my sacral chakra and the emotional guilt that I was feeling around ending this business, as well as the creative starvation that I was going through energetically. So I remember breaking down in tears in my Fiat 500 in a Sainsbury's car park in Lewisham. And my mum was there by my side, and I was just bawling my eyes out like a baby, just letting it all out, sharing my anger, my frustration, stamping my little foot, saying how it's not fair, and I've poured so much value into this project, into this business. Where is my harvest? Like, why isn't it coming? And although typically in the world of manifestation, I know that the lesson usually is, or the technique usually is, don't be negative, speak positivity out into the universe, speak what you want into existence. But I think also sometimes there's a time and a place for just letting all the crap out, releasing it from your body, because goodness knows, okay, before me blurting that out, it was going round and round and round inside me. Sometimes people are scared to speak the negativity out or to write the negativity out and then burn that piece of paper. But actually, it's living in you constantly. And maybe that act of writing it out or crying it out or screaming it out is the release that you need, so that it stops living in your body 100% of the time, so that you can then give yourself a chance to radiate a new energy. So that's a side note, but it's still completely relevant. Anyway, I was there letting it all out in Sainsbury's car park. And I think I remember saying to my mum, I think actually I hadn't given up. I was just frustrated. And I said to my mum, I am not going to allow myself to have any distractions this year. I'm going to say no to any shiny objects, and I'm going to give this one last chance, and I'm going to give it my everything. And then about a month later, someone reached out to me with a business proposal that sounded really good and sounded really fun and sounded really exciting and sounded like their support would be exactly the missing piece that I needed, because I'd felt like I had sort of been battling to do it all on my own up until this point. So his proposal was a completely new business venture. It was to launch my signature manifestation program, to jump with both feet into the manifestation space, which I'd kind of been one foot in the manifestation space, one foot still clinging onto my wellness and nutrition business. Some of you may remember from my early videos, I was talking about manifestation, but then I was still promoting a wellness business. So it was definitely out of alignment, right? So he proposed this to me. And despite the fact that I had said to myself, I'm going to say no to anything new, that was my brain talking. My intuition, my heart was like, yes, stop doing the thing that now you have come to hate. Like, even though it's something that was your passion, that you've dedicated so much time to, so many years to, stop doing that thing that is so not resonating with you anymore, and give yourself a chance. Trust yourself enough to start this new chapter that feels good to you. And for anyone else who is like totally relating to everything that I'm saying, there is a subtle difference between the shiny object syndrome voice in your head that's like, ooh, let's do this, ooh, let's do that, which is actually often a form of self-sabotage, where we're being distracted by A, B, and C to avoid putting all of our energy into the main event, versus one where you're like, I no longer feel resonant, I no longer feel called to do the previous thing. And even though I'm scared, this new opportunity actually feels better. So that was the gift that I needed. That was the sign from the universe. And I let myself receive it. I took the leap of faith. I professionally and gracefully ended my previous wellness business, I like to think. And I let myself step into this new venture with all the overwhelm that brings, all of the how am I going to do this energy, all of the oh my gosh, we're starting from scratch energy. I think I just reached a point where I was like, that feels better than continuing to do the same thing that I wake up and dread now every day. The first month of launching the new business, I think I earned 10 times more than I'd ever earned in the previous business. I think that's an accurate statement. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Yeah. And it's not just about the money, right? But hey, business is kind of to do with the money. Like, if not, it's a charity or a non-profit, but for a business, revenue is kind of a main driving force. So is enjoyment, so is passion, so is fulfillment, so is integrity, so is feeling inspired by what you do. I believe business should also be about those things too. And this new venture was ticking every single one of those boxes. It was exciting. It was new. I wasn't having to I want to say, like, I wasn't having to work as hard. That doesn't mean I was just, kicking back and doing nothing. But it meant, compared to my previous business where I felt like I had to slog and slog and slog and slog and still not really achieve the results I wanted to achieve, with this one, I took the action and got the results. Huh. What a concept. And, here I am now. It's been about 3 years later since that point, and I feel like I'm starting to have another one of those moments. I still love what I do. I still love my signature program, Align. I still love it. But I think that voice is starting to tell me that in the near future, the winds of change are coming, to quote Pocahontas, right? And instead of leaving it until the last minute where I'm going to be screaming at the walls, I'm learning from my previous experiences to listen to that voice earlier, to trust myself sooner. And to know that it is safe to step into the unknown. It is safe to look for new ventures and to embrace them if and when they feel like the right fit. Not shiny object syndrome, not being gullible and falling for something flashy or shiny or get rich quick. But when something feels like it suits this version of you and the way that you want to live, that is a big sign to pursue it and to not procrastinate, self-sabotage, and miss out on the opportunity. So I'm going to close off this video with a few affirmations that can be new stories, new narratives that we can tell ourselves so that we can tune our brain to be in the frame of mind of going for these opportunities when they feel right rather than sabotaging. It is safe for me to step into my new chapter. I trust myself to know what to do and to find the answers. I live in a beautiful, generous universe that is always giving me the best next step. I can listen to that voice, that intuition within me that always knows what is best for me, even if I don't consciously know yet. Let me know if this resonated with you. I love you, and until next time, goodbye.